Every infantry soldier should be familiar with the weapons of the infantry division. He should be able to recognize them and name them when he sees them. He should know in a general way their capabilities and their characteristics. And finally, he should be able to recognize each of these weapons by the sound of its firing. In this film, you will see the various weapons of the infantry division, and you will hear them fire. You will see some of the effects of their fire, and you will learn their more important characteristics. In particular, you will hear the various sounds of these weapons when you are on the receiving end of their fire. The weapons of the infantry division can be divided roughly into two general classes. Those that have a flat or only slightly curved trajectory, and those that have a highly curved trajectory. Typical flat trajectory weapons are the rifle, the machine gun, the 37mm anti-tank gun, and the 75mm gun. The path of the projectile fired by these weapons is generally flat or only slightly curved. They are not able, for instance, to reach targets that are on the reverse slopes of hills. Mortars and howitzers are classed as curved trajectory weapons because of their high angle of fire. This high angle of fire enables these weapons to lob their projectiles over hills and destroy targets that are located on reverse slopes. The curved trajectory weapons in the infantry division are the 60mm mortar, the 81mm mortar, the 105mm howitzer, and the 155mm howitzer. The hand grenade may also be considered a curved trajectory weapon, since it can be lobbed into trenches and over small rises in the ground that cannot be reached by flat trajectory weapons. First, let us consider the flat trajectory weapons. A man under fire of a flat trajectory weapon, such as a rifle, hears three distinct sounds when the piece is fired. The first thing he hears is the sound of the bullet in flight. Second, he hears the sound of the bullet as it strikes the ground. Third, he hears the actual report of discharge of the piece. He hears the sound of the bullet in flight and the sound of the bullet striking before he hears the report of discharge, because the bullet travels faster than the sound of the explosion. For instance, a bullet from a rifle travels about 2,700 feet per second, while the sound made by the discharge of the rifle travels only 1,100 feet per second. Therefore, we hear the bullet in flight and the strike of the bullet before we hear the report of the piece. It is important that every soldier know this and be able to recognize the report of discharge, for it is by this means that he determines the direction and location of the enemy piece. In listening to the fire of the various weapons shown in this picture, you should try to fix the characteristic sound of each weapon in your mind, and also learn to distinguish between the sound of the projectile in flight and the report of discharge. Now let us take another look at some of the flat trajectory weapons. Watch them and hear them fire. See their effect, and finally listen to them on the receiving end of the fire. Here is a squad firing the caliber 30 rifle, model 19-3, known in the service as the Springfield. With this rifle, the trained rifleman can fire 10 to 15 aimed shots a minute. Now let us move down to the receiving end and hear what a single rifle sounds like there. First, we hear the sound of the bullet in flight. Next, we hear the strike of the bullet. And finally, we hear the report of discharge of the rifle. Now listen to 12 Springfields as the soldier under fire hears them. Here is the area where their fire is falling. This squad is firing the U.S. rifle caliber .30 M1, which is a semi-automatic, self-loading shoulder weapon. A trained rifleman can fire 16 to 24 aimed shots a minute with the M1. Listen to the fire being delivered by this squad and compare it to the fire you just heard with the Springfields. Now we move down to the receiving end. Listen for the crack of the bullets passing overhead and for the reports of discharge. Here is the strike. Notice how much greater this volume is with the M1 than with the Springfield. listen to the complete sound of these 12 M1s as the soldier under fire hears them. This is the Browning automatic rifle. It is capable of firing 40 to 60 rounds per minute for prolonged periods. It may fire at a much faster rate for short periods. Moving back to our position where we are under fire, we can hear the crack of the bullets as they pass overhead and the reports of discharge. Here is the area that is being hammered by these two automatics. This is the light machine gun section. It is equipped with two Browning light machine guns, model 1919 A4. These weapons are belt-fed, recoil-operated, and air-cooled. Ordinarily, they operate in pairs. Listen to this pair firing. The light machine gun can be fired at a rate of 60 rounds per minute for prolonged periods. Its maximum usable rate is 150 rounds per minute, but the weapon can only fire at this rate for very brief periods without overheating. A spare barrel is carried for each gun. Here is the way these two guns sound to the man who is under fire. Notice the volume of fire these guns are laying down on this area. Here is a heavy machine gun section firing its two guns. The heavy machine gun is water-cooled. It is capable of firing 125 rounds per minute for prolonged periods. It can fire at a much greater rate than this, but only for short periods. Like the light machine gun, the heavies are also usually employed in pairs. Listen to them for a minute. Now listen to them on the receiving end of the fire. Listen for the flight of the bullets and the report of discharge of the guns. Identify each sound positively. Note how much more fire is delivered by the heavies than the lights. This squad is firing the caliber 50 Browning machine gun. Like the light machine gun, the caliber 50 is belt-fed, recoil-operated, and air-cooled. Its normal rate of fire is about 40 rounds per minute. At 500 yards, the caliber 50 is able to penetrate 5/8 of an inch of armor. This gun is being fired at the rate of 40 rounds per minute. Listen to its distinctive sound. Now, as the soldier under fire hears it. Now look at its effect on a target. This squad is firing another flat trajectory weapon, the 37mm anti-tank gun. As its name implies, it is a tank destroyer. In the hands of an expert crew, it can throw as many as 25 rounds a minute. But the normal rate of fire is considered to be between 15 and 20 rounds a minute. Now listen to the distinctive sound of this gun. This is the way it sounds to the soldier under fire. First, the flight of the round overhead. Listen. Then the strike of the projectile. Last, the report of discharge. Now listen to the complete sound as the soldier under fire hears it. This is the 75-millimeter gun, an artillery piece. Its relatively flat trajectory makes it particularly suitable for direct laying. The maximum effective range of its 15-pound projectile is about 6.5 miles. It can fire up to 6 rounds a minute in short bursts, but its normal rate for prolonged firing is about 3 rounds a minute. A round has been loaded and the piece is ready to be fired. Listen to it. This is the way it sounds to the soldier under fire. First, the shriek of the shell as it passes overhead. Listen. Next, the burst of the shell on impact. And finally, the sound of the report of discharge. Now listen to the complete sound as the soldier under fire hears it. Remember those characteristic sounds. You should also remember that the 75-millimeter gun is a direct laying weapon, that it is highly effective against tanks, and that the bursting radius of its projectile is about 30 yards. Actually, fragments have been known to cause casualties up to 150 yards. This completes all of the flat trajectory weapons in the infantry division, with the exception of the caliber .45 pistol, which we will see and hear later, and the carbine, a light semi-automatic rifle, which will largely replace the pistol. Now let us consider those weapons in the division which have a high angle of fire and a curved trajectory. In other words, the mortars and howitzers. Because of their high angle of fire, Mortars and howitzers can reach into hostile trenches and emplacements and engage targets on reverse slopes which cannot be reached by flat trajectory weapons. The sequence of sounds heard by a soldier under fire from a mortar or howitzer differs from the sequence he hears when under fire from a flat trajectory weapon. When a mortar or howitzer is fired, the soldier first hears the sound of the projectile as it moves toward him. Next, he hears the report of discharge of the piece. And finally, he hears the strike and burst of the projectile. Now let us look at some of these weapons and listen to their fire. Here is a 60mm mortar. It is a smooth-bore, muzzle-loading, high-angle weapon. The 3-pound shell it fires has a low muzzle velocity and a highly curved trajectory. The maximum range of the 60mm mortar is a little more than a mile, but ordinarily it finds its greatest usefulness at ranges up to 1,000 yards. The mortar can be fired at the rate of 18 rounds per minute for long periods. The maximum rate of fire for short periods is about 35 rounds a minute. The report of discharge of a mortar is distinctive. It sounds like a cough. Listen to it. To the soldier under fire, the sound of the 60mm mortar shell passing overhead is usually very faint. Ordinarily, he only hears it as it nears his position. Now listen to the sound of the shell as it bursts upon impact. Its bursting radius is about 17 yards, but fragments travel much farther. This is the 81mm mortar. Like the 60mm mortar, it is a smooth-bore, muzzle-loading, low-velocity, high-angle weapon. It fires several different types of shell. An anti-personnel shell, a demolition shell, and 2 types of chemical shell. The 7-pound anti-personnel shell can be fired at ranges up to nearly 2 miles. The 11.5-pound chemical shell can be fired nearly 1.5 miles. Each shell is fitted with stabilizing fins to keep it from tumbling in flight. The 81mm mortar is capable of firing 18 rounds a minute for prolonged periods. Here the mortar is firing the demolition shell. Listen to it. Here is what the soldier under fire hears. Listen carefully. Here is the burst of the shell. The bursting radius of the demolition shell is about 35 yards. Here the crew is firing the 7-pound anti-personnel shell. Listen to it. Now on the receiving end. Here is the burst. Its bursting radius is 25 yards. This is the 105-millimeter howitzer, an artillery weapon. It has a low muzzle velocity and a curved trajectory. The maximum effective range of its 33-pound projectile is about 6 miles. Its normal rate of fire is 2 rounds per minute, but it can fire 4 rounds a minute for short periods. Listen to the heavy report of this piece. Now on the receiving end, listen for its flight overhead, followed by the report. Here is the burst at impact. The radius of its burst is 40 yards, but fragments have been known to cause casualties up to 300 yards. Now listen to the complete sound as the 105 fires again. This is the 155 millimeter howitzer. It, too, has a low muzzle velocity and a curved trajectory. The maximum effective range of its 95-pound projectile is about 6 miles. Its normal rate of fire is 1 round per minute, but it can fire 3 rounds per minute for short periods. Listen to it. This is what the soldier hears who is under fire. then the burst of the projectile on impact. Its bursting radius is 70 yards. Fragments, however, have been known to cause casualties as far as 500 yards from the burst. Here is the complete sound of the 155mm howitzer as the soldier under fire hears it. There are three other weapons of the infantry division. These are the weapons of close combat. They are the bayonet, the pistol, and the hand grenade. The bayonet is the weapon of hand-to-hand fighting. In the hands of the trained bayonet fighter, it is a deadly weapon. The caliber .45 pistol is essentially a weapon of individual defense at close quarters. 50 yards is considered its maximum effective range, but it actually finds its greatest usefulness at ranges of 25 yards or less. At these short ranges, it is an accurate and heavy-hitting weapon. The third weapon of close combat is the hand grenade. The grenade weighs 1 1/4 pounds. Its effective radius of burst is considered to be 30 yards, but fragments have been known to inflict casualties up to 200 yards. The average trained soldier is able to throw the grenade up to 35 yards with a high degree of accuracy. At longer ranges, this accuracy diminishes. This completes the weapons of the infantry division. You have seen each of these weapons. You have watched each of them fire. You have heard what each one sounds like to the soldier under fire. In battle, the soldier hears the roar of thousands of these weapons firing at once, both his and the enemy's. In time, he learns the characteristic sound of each, is able to tell whether the projectile is near or far, is able to spot the reports of discharge of many of the weapons, and as a result, determine their general direction and sometimes even their location. This film is an initial lesson, a substitute for the hard school of experience. Let it be a guide to you in your daily work. Wherever and whenever you hear firing, try to identify the piece that is firing, the sound it makes, and from its report of discharge, determine its location. The skill you attain in this may someday save your life.